Hi, I'm Steffany Strange. Want to hear something scary?
Whatever you do, don't flinch. Sometimes, no matter how many times someone tells you otherworldly spirits exist, you have to experience it for yourself to believe it. Unusual didn't believe in anything supernatural. She was someone who needed to see things to believe them. To her, ghosts and jinns were excuses that parents used to stop their children from going out after dark. Unusual worked as a receptionist at the hospital. When her shift ended at 9 p.m., she would be wired from the busy day and go out till dawn to party, stumbling home only after the sun had risen. She knew it was dangerous, burning the candle at both ends, but working in a hospital, she also knew you only live once. One night after her shift, a colleague suggested that they try a new bar that had just opened. It was further out of town, but Anusha immediately agreed. They took two separate cars, of course one Anusha drove. The hours flew by as they were having fun, and it was soon 2 a.m. and time to call it a night. The cars took the same route back until they got to the Mohakali overbridge, the first ever flyover built in Bangladesh, where they parted ways back to their different homes. The road was deserted, not a soul in sight. Anusha didn't know if it was just because she was exhausted, but she felt the bridge had an eerie feeling to it. The wind whistling as they sped along. They were around the middle of the bridge when Anusha spotted something that caused her to panic. A woman in white running straight towards them. The passengers in Anusha's car shrieked in horror as the woman headed right for them, making no sign of stopping even after seeing the car. They had no way of stopping in time. Anusha flinched as the woman just stood there, waiting for Anusha's car to hit her. Anusha instinctively wanted to swerve to the side, and there was still time. It would be the rational thing to do to avoid an accident, but a voice in the back of her head urged her not to. She looked around and saw that swerving left or right would result in a collision with the railings, or even worse, crash through them and down onto the road underneath. So she did as her brain instructed and drove on, not caring about the consequences, not caring about anything but saving her life and those of her passengers. She drove straight into the woman, who did not even wince as the vehicle hit her. It was as though she was made out of thin air, and the car simply passed through her. Anusha looked into the rearview mirror in disbelief, only to see the woman still standing where she had been. But she turned around and saw her face was staring at them, yet there was no blood in sight. Then she disappeared, a collective hallucination, and the remainder of their journey home was normal. The next day, Anusha was recounting her story at the hospital, telling a colleague about a woman on the bridge. In the middle of her story, she noticed a patient staring wide-eyed at her. He was a middle-aged man with a broken leg and arm, and his face was cut open and badly bruised. He stared at her with an expression of awe. Anusha couldn't help but be a little creeped out. When she asked the man if he needed something, he asked her anxiously, "You really encountered her too? You got away?" "What do you mean, me too?" Anusha asked hesitantly. "The woman in white," he said. Blood began to pulse through Anusha's body. She never said anything about the woman wearing white. Had this patient seen the same thing? He then took a long breath. "There's a legend about the place," he murmured. "Many people see her. She's a vengeful spirit. Probably rightfully so. She met her end on the bridge where she was killed by a drunk driver. She only appears to people when they have been drinking. Now you know the people who swerve all over the road usually aren't thinking straight. They crash into the railing, sometimes flying over the ledge to their deaths. You should consider yourself lucky." The reality of what happened finally hit Anusha. The logical part of the brain told her he was crazy. It was just a coincidence. It just couldn't have been real. She didn't believe in ghosts. Ugh, you have no proof. Anyusia exclaimed as a bead of sweat trickled down the nape of her neck. No proof, he shouted back as he gestured to his broken bones and torn up face. I'm living proof. I swerved to miss her, almost damn near died. Anyusia looked at the patient in shock, realizing how fortunate she'd been. And with that, she never doubted the existence of the supernatural ever again. Like and share if this video gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. See you next time.